everyone and welcome to this video. I'm just going to give you a few, I wouldn't call it tips, but I would just want you to remind you a few things before you go into your P1 exam. So just to give you an idea of the paper, I'm sure you guys know the structure by now, but in case you don't, the P1 paper, you have two sections, section A and section B. In section A, it's a 50-mark question where you have all areas of the syllabus being tested. So the three areas of the syllabus are corporate governance, risk and ethics. So all those areas can be tested in section 1, which is a 50-mark question. Now within the 50-mark question, you also get 4 professional marks. Now the 4 professional marks, they can ask you to maybe write a statement or a magazine article, or it can be a memo. Just make sure that you know the format of all of these, because you could get 1 or 2 marks for the format. And make sure which person you're writing in, whether you're writing it in the first person or in the third person. So just be a little careful there. Now the most common one that they ask you for is a statement. You have section B, where you can choose 2 out of 3 questions, and it is 25 marks each. Now the 3 key areas of P1 are governance, risk and ethics. But there are also these other areas in P1 that you need to be aware of. So let's just start with governance. Now in governance, you'll have to know the UK Corporate Governance Code. Yeah, you could get a question where they can give you a scenario where they're not applying the code properly, so you need to criticize that structure. Okay, you can also be asked for the governance structure in a private sector, or a governance structure in a charity or public sector. Yeah, so they could ask you to differentiate between governance structures. You need to know about the committee. So you have 4 committees, which is the risk committee, the audit committee, the remuneration committee and the nominations committee. Just know the composition of the board, just know what the roles of each of these committees are. Okay, you also need to know about risk. Now there are 2 types of risk here: the operational risk and the strategic risk. A common question that's asked is differentiate between both, and they'll give you a problem. Is this a strategic risk or is this an operational risk? Why is it such a risk? Okay, you can be asked about risk embeddedness. How can you embed risk into the culture of the organization? You can be asked about controls. Now, controls is an area that is tested in every sitting. Okay, so you need to know what the objectives of controls are, or what the purpose of controls are. There might be certain deficiencies in that particular company. Pick out those deficiencies, or even recommend certain controls that you can put into place. Then you have ethics. Now in ethics you have these theories. You have relativism, absolutism, deontological theory, a teleological theory. So just be aware of what they are. Remember, every time they ask you for an ethical question, go ahead and define it, even if they're not asking you to define the theory. Okay, and also remember that when you're being asked an ethical question based on the theories, you're not yourself in the exam. You have to think about it from the point of view of whoever is there in the scenario. So don't think about, okay, if it was me, what would I do? No. You also have the Gray ones and Adams continuum, where you have the 7 positions on corporate social responsibility. What would a company do? How would a company be socially responsible? What is their ethical stance? So just be aware of the 7 stages. You also have Colesberg's levels, where you have the pre-conventional, conventional and post-conventional. Just be aware of what they are. Now, you could also be asked a question where a company is in an ethical dilemma. Okay, they're not really sure about whether to go with route A or route B. So using, let's say, Tucker's 5 questions, or using the AAA model, evaluate the scenario. So Tucker's 5 questions and the AAA model hasn't been questioned for a very, very long time. So it might be worth just going through what these 2 theories are. Then you have other areas in ethics, or within ethics you have corporate ethics. Just be aware of what corporate ethics is. Then the other bits in P1 are social footprint, environmental footprint. What is social footprint? What is environmental footprint? You also need to know a little bit about integrated reporting. What is integrated reporting? When you are preparing an integrated report, what are the things that you need to think about, or the 7 guiding principles? or you also need to be aware of what the capitals are. Okay, so that is pretty much it. Now the best way to do the exam is try not to panic. Okay, there might be things in the exam that you may not be aware of, or you know what it is, but at that time you're just going to be a little confused. But just try to be calm, make sure you look at the clock, time yourself, and you should be fine. So good luck for your exam.